I don't worry. I tell you, I'm a man who believed that I died 20 years ago, and I live like a man who is dead already. I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything.
Hey, what's up? It's your boy L7. You're checking out the show, you know what I mean? Definitely thanks for checking out. Now, I got a real special guest today, and I want you guys to pay special close attention because this is someone who I didn't really know about. I know you guys hear about Kyle Kalinske, I know you guys hear about, Jimmy Dore, Nico House, and all that, but this guy, New Progressive Voice, is something, that I think is really cool. Your name is Josh, am I correct?
Yeah, that's right, and thanks for inviting me. Appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. I'm from the East Coast. I'm from New York City. Where are you from, actually?
I'm out in California.
Honestly, I'm a fan of your channel, right? I think that I really like you're very eloquent, yeah, and you also put your ideas you're very organized. I remember watching your video like why Tulsi failed, and you had like a 15-point document or 20-point document. It was very well researched and thought out. I mean, I was super impressed. I watched some other videos.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
I don't always do that. Sometimes I do, sit down and really think things out. Other times I'm, just kind of spontaneous.
The first question I really have for you is this channel, New Progressive Voice, which I think is, don't mistake that with the Progressive Voice. I don't really like that Progressive Voice, but the New Progressive Voice is hot. New Progressive Voice, I like that a lot. I mean, that's just straight up. The Progressive Voice guy, whatever, yeah? But I want to ask you why you... No doubt. There may be some people get confused, you know what I mean? So...
Right.
I think that might have happened, actually. I might have seen your stuff a couple times, and I was like, Progressive Voice, whatever, you know what I mean? But, I paid attention this time. I was like, oh, this is different. This is good. This is... Yeah, so that was just my take. So, why did you start why did you start this channel, New Progressive Voice?
Actually, I was inspired to open the channel to increase the volume for Bernie Sanders in 2016. He really inspired me, opened my mind. It was kind of like the, I guess, Matrix moment. I can't remember which pill it is. Is it the blue pill that kind of opens the mind, or is it the red pill?
Well, either one, right? I think it's
right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a Matrix moment, and I guess I've always had that in me, the sort of activism, sort of rebel personality, the underdog. I remember there was once that I had put forth a petition for what was a discriminatory behavior toward a particular racial group at a particular club. But at any rate, that went pretty far. I actually went to the news. But prior to that, or after that, I really don't have anything else that I've done. I think it's just likely just part of my makeup,
Okay. So that's cool. And actually, that was actually something I was going to mention when you started saying that, because you're like, Bernie Sanders kind of like awakened you. But I have a feeling that to a certain extent you were already aware, right? Because Bernie Sanders appeals to people that are already aware to a certain extent that things are not necessarily lining up with, what we're told. That, we're not necessarily, the people on the working ground are not necessarily getting a fair shake of things. Maybe things are not necessarily, all for the best things. Yeah.
Right.
And we need a change. So you already were primed for that. Yeah, so maybe could you give me a little bit more understanding about that?
Yeah, I think you're right. I like to think of it as everybody has seeds in them, if you will, and an apple tree can't grow unless there's apple seeds already there. An orange tree becomes an orange tree. Not saying I believe in fate per se, but I do think you're right that all of us have that capacity to be awakened. Whether it be toward doing something inspirational or something destructive. So.
Okay, cool. So now I see that you've kind of like, your oldest video is probably like around 3 years ago. So that kind of lines up, right? You kind of get started, I guess, like after the election. So maybe you had some before, maybe deleted them. But when did you start your channel maybe around 3 years ago? Is your first video?
Yeah,
okay.
It was late 2015 going into 2016, and that's when I first started with Bernie Sanders. And then after he dropped out, I moved on to Jill Stein for the general election.
Cool.
So I was in that third party mode.
Okay. So now the thing is that you've had your channel for a while. Has your perspective, I'm sure you've had like chances to meet cool people. I see you like had some like cool interviews with some big names and stuff like that, which is cool. Has your perspective changed in any way since you've started your channel?
Absolutely. I think I've gone from, prior to, of course, I might have voted for someone like Hillary Clinton, but then, of course, Bernie, again, as I said, woke me up. But beyond that, I think I was under that sort of mindset that the way to get there was to be very adamant. That principle meant that you had to stick to your guns and burn or bust mindset or third party mindset. But along the way, I've come to see things a bit differently. While I certainly appreciate and understand, the principal stance, I think that without a sound strategy really gets you, not that far in where you want to go. So
I actually completely agree. Actually, I made a video that I kind of like made a clickbaity video, like, why third parties fail, and I attend to exactly that issue. So I have to agree. Yeah, as you spend more time in the game, you realize how hard the fight is, and to just, your gut stance is to make that principled stance, but then you realize that, if you're going to get anywhere, you have to kind of work with it. So, it's that fine line to really decide. So your perspective has kind of like maybe been, would you say you're more of a moderate now? It's hard to really call that. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I think that one of the things that I believed once, say 2 or 3 years ago, was that we had to fight the battles where we want them to be, and so most definitely I would have never considered voting for someone like Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton or George Bush, whoever. I never would have considered that.
Right.
Unfortunately, there was an understanding along the way, and a lot of this was propagated by, rightly or wrongly, and there's some truth in it, and there's some not so truth in it, by the progressive community YouTubers that, there was a equivalency between the Republican and the Democratic parties. Unfortunately, while that's somewhat true, if you really break it down, you come to see that there are some nuanced differences, and you come to realize that these elections do matter, even though it might be a minuscule movement toward one direction or the other. It still can be quite significant for people in a broader way. We don't want to become reductionist, where we think that it has to either be black or white, and I think that starts to get us into trouble, and all of our agenda and policies kind of fall through the gap between the two.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I've come to see. So I'm not a moderate. I'm definitely a progressive, but I've come to understand what does it mean to be a progressive.
That's my next question. That's my next question for real, because it's so confusing, right? As soon as that word moderate left my mouth already, like, a lot of these definitions I'm really not happy with, because I feel like they try to pigeonhole us, right? I think that what you're saying, you could correct me if I'm wrong though, is that you're a broader viewpoint rather than just these defining labels, or you're really seeing things for the bigger picture. So it's not necessarily like these labels that people try to slap on easily, like moderate, progressive, things like that. You're looking at the big picture and trying to like create coalitions and build, versus this easy labeling and saying, oh, I'm this, I'm not that. So we were starting to get at this idea of what is a progressive. You're the new progressive voice. What does it mean to be? And people say faux progressive. You're a fake progressive. What does all this mean, man? What is a progressive to you?
Yeah, I take the basic understanding of the definition in the original, forefather of the progressive movement, and that's Theodore Roosevelt, who understood it to be exactly what Wikipedia or Webster says it is, and that is pushing for reform, social reform or change or policy change via the advancements in science, technology, etc. Toward the ultimate goal of improving the human condition. And so that can become very subjective, can it not? Like, different people have different ideas about what does it mean to improve the human condition. I think that's another discussion we can have. But
I think one of the biggest
point I wanted to make.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry about that. The point I wanted to make from that, though, is that I think it's important to understand that it's not a Republican Democrat. It's a philosophy. It's not a doctrine or a dogma.
Exactly. I was gonna say that I feel like there's a lot of confusion. I think that people try to say if you're progressive, if you're left, whatever left means, you're not progressive if you're right. You know, what I mean, I'm not sure that that's a one-to-one dichotomy. You know, that's a match right there.
Right.
Would you agree with that? Like,
Exactly.
yeah, left and progressive is not the same thing, right?
I agree. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Also, it's this weird thing happened where the left, right, is supposed to stand up for, you know, ideally like people who are disenfranchised, people who are poor, people who are but now like the fact that the intelligentsia and the academia is trying to control the left, who are often coming from places of extreme privilege, is also very weird. So they're claiming to be left. I don't think they're really left, but there's all this kind of it's up to the people to decide really. Um,
Yeah, I think you're right because again, it's come down to reductionism, and that reductionism leaves out so many people. This my way or the highway. Well, in the interim, while you're waiting for your way, millions of people are affected, and we have to consider that. If we truly are considering ourselves of wanting to advance the human condition.
I like that. Yeah, wow. We really see. I have to agree just on a core principle. Yeah, I really feel like this message needs to go out. Like, if I feel like that's just so important. That's really a founding principle of like what I'm all about for real. Yeah, and actually, this leads to my next question. Is for me, it's like I don't know if you heard about my Taking Action group. I'm all about the action. There's so many people who want to like pontificate or talk about theory or vent, right? But in the end, we have like right, people are suffering out there. We need to help them. We need to get things done. So, do you have a background in activism? You said like you kind of like got something done, like you stopped some type of discrimination at a club and things like that. Since you've been working this for like these 3 years with your channel, have you like been involved with any like I don't know, petitions or supporting
I
candidates
did
or
put
anything? Go ahead.
Yes, I did put forth a petition to try to get ranked choice voting in the state of California.
Nice.
Um, that needed 500, I think it was 500,000 signatures. Unfortunately, I fell quite short. I started quite late into that. And also, just generally, I think the channel itself is a form of activism. I spent a lot of effort toward interviewing various people, informing the public, educating people on things like fair voting, ranked choice voting, the platform of the third party, Jill Stein, and why that's important to get that message, her message out there.
Wonderful. I'm really happy to hear that because that's really all I want to do is promote action. And, that's really a main focus for, a subdivision of my channel right there. And so that's great, man. And honestly, if there's anything we can do to help you, if you want to like also branch out and do more activism, that's definitely something I encourage. And I'm happy to hear that you're taking it beyond just words, but actually trying to make a difference out there. That's amazing. So, yeah.
Well, one of the things you could definitely do is come to my channel, because I think that people becoming aware of your channel, I think you're just likely got started and you're the hundreds at this point. Getting you up to the point where you can get monetized and you start having funding and you can grow your message. That would be a major plus. So we'll get you on our over on New Progressive Voice if you're interested.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. Absolutely. Hey, thanks so much. I really appreciate that. Yeah. We'll see, man. I honestly feel like I'm the type of content that's ready to be demonetized. I'm already on BitChute. I'm already on Daily Motion. I'm already looking to expand that into other networks because I know like I'm exactly the type of thing that YouTube doesn't want. You know what I mean? So,
Okay.
yeah. But
Fair enough.
yeah, I'm definitely like, yes, thank you so much. And I would love to grow and I would love to help you grow too. You know what I mean? So that's wonderful. Right now we're in a crazy situation now, the COVID, the politics, there's so many things crazy. What are your thoughts on like what's going on just right now currently?
Wow, that's such a broad, big question. Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on how you mean that. Most definitely, I think it's, overall it's mismanaged, and I think there's so many agendas out there that are conflicting, and people are campish, that it makes it difficult to get anything, that is coherent and cohesive, kind of moving things forward in the current political climate. We're really at the place where, there's so much fracturing and people are just trying to figure out how to move forward. We know we need change. We know we need transformation, but we're in that dialogue stage, Sometimes it comes out not so well and sometimes it comes out better.
Yeah, and I agree with you that it's really clearly been mismanaged. Like the U.S. is like in last place. Like I'm actually ethnically Korean, and they handle that situation great. Look at it's a big mess over here. It's just a shame, and the same people who made the big mess or who allowed the big mess to happen, they're just like pretending like they still have some credibility. They really don't. That's just my
Yeah,
opinion. Yeah.
I think that's right. I mean, I think South Korea already, their economy is staying afloat, and they haven't really laid off that many people, compared to the U.S., 30 million plus, and we now have more deaths than any other nation on the earth, several-fold, and the number of tests we've done per capita is lower than most modern nations. Yeah, it's basically a mitigated disaster, is what it is.
Yeah. All right. So
So I think it is important to move on from this current administration.
absolutely. So, like, there's a lot of different content creators out there. Like, honestly, I've been super impressed by, like, Fiorella of Convo Couch. I see her taking actual action to grapple with the problems that are actually, impacting, such as, like, election integrity, things like that. And I'm really impressed, Fiorella. Good job. Of course, I'm a fan of all the other content creators, but I think that's how she's distinguishing herself, right? Jimmy Dore, everybody knows him for kind of, like, being the ranty guy, which I love, man. And he's very but for yourself, right, what makes your voice unique amongst all the other content creators out there, in your opinion?
Wow. Well, I do think that the understanding, from my opinion, of the need to form a coalition, bringing everybody's diverse opinions, being more open, receptive, ridding the cancel culture, ridding the island effect of a shrinking island, puritanical approach or puritanism. I don't think those work. I think third parties don't work in the current electoral system. I also think that we need to champion our progressive leaders rather than ostracize them at every turn. And ultimately, I think most importantly is coalition building should be done at a mission level, not at a philosophical, ideological, or led with some policies or personality level or candidate level, and outside of the DNC, leveraging the DNC outside and using our candidates inside the DNC, such as Yang, Tulsi, Bernie, Williamson, whoever else we might consider as true progressive leaders.
Okay, so like you said, like my channel's smaller and I only have like a couple hundred viewers, but just so you guys know, I do have like over 20 years as being a green, being in the Green Party, and honestly, the words that I know a lot of some people that watch my channel, they're probably a little bit more extreme. They might not like what this guy has to say, but honestly, I'm completely in line with you guys. Have to what he says is from someone who's kind of been in the game for like several years. Yes, I mean, it's easy to take this ideological stance, but if that's why like the Green Party was always trying to grab people from the Democratic Party, and if people from the Green Party are always trying to go into the Democratic Party and make things happen there, you have to be able to work within the system to a certain extent. You know what I mean? Unless you want like a bloody revolution, which honestly I don't want. You know what I mean? I don't. Yeah. Okay. So yes, a revolution through elections of values, that sounds wonderful. And honestly, I think a lot of people out there, just from being 20 years in the game, we should be working more and opening dialogues rather than closing people off. So I really like what this guy has to say, and he's very eloquent about the way he says it, and I really look forward to. I think we should have more talks, man, because honestly, I think we're really like that. That's that fine line that's so hard to tread right there that a lot of people shy away from. But this discussion I think is just so important for the future of where this is all going to go.
Yeah, I appreciate you highlighting that, and I'm quite impressed that you said you had 20 years. You look quite young.
I'm in my 40s. Yeah.
That's quite impressive. You don't look anywhere near that.
That's okay.
But yeah, I do think that what sometimes progressives fail to understand is, as I said earlier, they want to have the battle where they want to have it, rather than where it really is, where it really is on the ground, and wanting not to do the hard work to grow our voice and become the majority, if you will.
Exactly.
To get agenda and policy.
Once you start doing the work, right, then you see that all of a sudden, right, it's not so easy to then you're like, oh wow, it's not as easy as I thought. Yeah, Yeah, so yeah, put the work in, please. Then come back, and we'll see how you feel, right? If you still feel that way, I'm not mad at you either. I mean, I get that, and there's people who have been in the game, but yeah, I've been in the game, and we're coming to a lot of the same conclusions here, and that's the only way you're going to find it, by putting your hands on the actual work. So I love that. Yeah. So
Yeah, I'd love to ask you some questions as well, if it's all right with you. I
well,
don't know.
we'll save that for We'll save that for. This is all about you. Yeah, this is so I can turn my
Okay.
viewers onto you.
Fair enough. Yeah,
I'll be glad to
you
interview on
intrigue
your
me
channel.
in that,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the fact that you understand this and that you're out there and you're wanting to make a difference, that's a good formula, and you're sort of a rare breed in this time, and so you intrigue me, in terms of how you proceed moving forward and in the details of that. So yeah, most definitely make sure you
Yeah,
put
we'll
a
set up for
slot
another interview on
out.
for you. Yeah, are you kidding me? You have way more viewers. That's a great platform for me. Like that's a huge plus. Yeah, of course, I have so much to gain from that. Appreciate that. Yeah. By the way, like let's also keep promoting right here. What social? Because I'm a fan, man. Straight up. You know what I mean? I subscribe to multiple channels. Yeah. So what social media platforms are you on besides YouTube? How can yeah?
Yeah, I have a day job, so I don't spend a lot of time growing my channel, or
Okay.
my presence in the social sphere. So really, it's just Facebook and Twitter. That's it, and of course the YouTube channel. But
Okay.
on Twitter, it's just Joshua at NPV, or I'm sorry, for NPV1. That's it, and I can leave that to you.
Yeah, I'll put that in the link below,
Sure.
obviously, and also if you're
Okay.
on his channel page, we'll have a link to your YouTube channel. He's got the little, the little box on the top, on the bottom right hand corner of the top, which has like links to his Facebook and the Twitter. So we'll have links to there too. Just go to his channel, check out all the videos, stuff like that. Honestly, he's got a lot of real thoughtful videos, which I appreciate. Right? There's a lot of people who just, you know, I know you do that as well too. Like sometimes you just like reaction videos, but there's something to be said for someone who really does a little bit more preparation, and I appreciate that. Yeah, yeah, I like dense
Yeah, I think that's
information.
right. It does take a lot. It does take a lot. You have to do research. You have to really think it through. It's like doing you know,
Like a
a
paper.
college paper or something.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But I need
So
the
it does
information
take
to be
it. It
dense.
takes a lot of
Yeah.
work.
I don't have a lot of time to listen to like crap or people like complaining or social stuff. I want the information. You know what I mean? So I appreciate the density of
That's the
information.
hard
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And that's the hard stuff, because the easy stuff is, we are past the point, I think, of being concerned that we're going to go back to sleep as a community. We have been awoken, and this idea that we should just be continually complaining about the system. I think that's important and it plays a part, but it's so little of the actual work that needs to be done.
Yeah, you won't change it unless, yeah, complaining only is only complaining. You have to go somewhere with that, or else you'll still be complaining like years later about the same thing.
Right.
What use is that, right? Yeah. So,
Exactly.
what are your plans
And
for the future?
like
Yeah.
I think that it's beneficial in that you're going to maybe wake up more people, but the problem is you're simultaneously potentially destroying whatever you already built. Like the trust that you built in the various candidates, or various policies, because they don't look exactly right, so forth and so on.
And also it's a little bit like, honestly, I feel like this type of thing has been taught to us kind of, right? Like if you look at breast cancer, right, all we do is say awareness, awareness, but there's no real ask about like what's the cause or what's the cure. You know what I mean? It's just like awareness, awareness, awareness. And this is
Exactly.
actually, it's actually, right, a lot of the top funders of breast cancer awareness campaigns are actually the chemical companies that cause the cancer themselves, because they do not want the discussion to go around those particular issues so they can prevent actual progress from taking place. So be very careful about complaining, right? I mean, yes, complain, like, yes, do it, but be careful about complaining that does not have any actual results, because that can be, it leaves people to feel some sense of relief, especially like venting on Facebook, but then they stop, and that kills a movement. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and it also maybe unintendedly leaves an aura of toxicity for outsiders, and they're looking in, looking from outside in. They just see you as ranting and just complaining and being toxic, even though that may be not what you're intending. You have a good intent. Unfortunately, it's not necessarily the most magnanimous, or I'm sorry, attractive way of sort of getting your movement going.
Absolutely. So, what's your plans for the future, man? What's going on with you? You know, nowadays we're all at home. You making a whole bunch more videos, or what's the future for NPV,
I
New
think right
Progressive
now
Voice?
it's really about trying to get the message out there that we need to redirect our efforts, and we need to redefine what it means to be a progressive. Do we want to keep that title even? And just taking a different, harder look at ourselves, and less at, the system itself. Because I think most of us are now, we've gotten to a place where we create an echo chamber. And we need to break out of that echo chamber, and we need to start reaching out and forming alliances, coalitions, redefining our message and our mission.
I really
So
feel
I
like
just want to be part of generating that and get that going.
I feel like Facebook and YouTube are really kind of like leading like to us into these funnels, and we have to find a new way to like break out of them. And it's not just us, but it's the communities that we want to contact, right? Like these communities are so ingrained in Facebook and YouTube, which just basically shows that, which funnels them and takes them out from the general populace. How can we re-engage them when they're so already like entrenched within, like if you go to the third world, right? Because I spent like a couple of years in Grenada, right? Like Facebook is how they do everything. You know what I mean? You ask them what's the internet, they think it's Facebook.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. What it's going to take, honestly, it's going to take a lot of activism. It's going to take people that are literate, that can write books. I think when you write a book, and this is something I've been considering, it often can interest people to getting you on an interview that broadens, your audience. Other things such as being, sort of learning from the 60s as well as from the, Martin Luther King is a good example, or Joe Rogan might be a good example, sort of opening up and broadening, your discussion, not being as critical, but more educating and inviting discussion.
Yeah, what's hilarious, man? Just a little side view. The thing is that, right, you could take like a little like half a second clip from a pop song, right, and you get banged on copyright infringement, or they'll whack you on YouTube, right? You could use whole sections
Right.
from Malcolm
Right.
X's speeches or Martin, and nothing. It doesn't recognize you at all. You know what I mean? I mean, maybe it shouldn't be copyrighted,
Well,
which would be good, but
I think
yeah.
I think the thing is it needs not be, when I talked about using the 60s model or Martin Luther King, etc. What I'm really saying is, this is an untapped resource for the left. We have that potential, where we need to start considering generating new artists that are,
Hell yeah.
socially aware, and getting a movement going that excites. And we become, it's not really about trying to destroy the establishment, as it is growing and becoming a magnet where our voice
Yeah,
out volume
there's a rapper
the
out there called
established.
My Son, and I love that guy. You know what I mean? But he's not really he will never be promoted by the mainstream media. You know what I mean? There are a few artists out there.
Then we need to do that, and we need to, like, basically, I think, it's hard for us to realize as a progressive community, because it's like being a child who has waited on mommy and daddy to give us our Christmas gifts, and we're waiting, and if we think we stomp our feet, we make a loud enough noise. It comes a time when you become a teenager, and you get out of that angst, and you start realizing, gosh, I've got to do this for myself.
Hell yeah.
If I So
Exactly.
that's kind of the stage I feel that we're starting to enter into.
Nice. I like that, man. I really do. Hey, man, this was a really cool interview, actually, man. One of my favorite, man, for real. And I really like your content, man. Anybody who's watching my channel, for real, New Progressive Voice, you should check them out, for real. I check out all the guys, Secular Talk, all those guys. I check out, Mike Figueredo, right? I love all those channels, but New Progressive Voice is definitely right up there, man, for me. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Thank you.
Yeah, better in a lot of ways,
Appreciate
to tell you
it.
the truth, man, just because of the depth at which you explore your topic material. So I'm glad to give this guy a shout out. I can't believe you even came on my channel, man. For me, you're a celebrity, man. So thank you so much, man. I really appreciate your time today.
You're welcome, and thank you for inviting me.
God bless, my brother. See you on the next one, man. I'm sure we're going to do another show soon.
Absolutely. Stay in touch.
All right, peace.
Take care. Bye-bye.
These videos are independently produced and funded, and your support is deeply appreciated. Liking the video and subscribing helps the channel, and ringing the bell icon will keep you notified as to when we upload new content. You You can also check out our other social media platforms. We'd love to hear from you. We also have our event calendar, links in the description. On our Reddit, you can come in and get on the conversation and check out some of the memes. Like and share, it really helps us in the YouTube algorithm. Every week on Sunday, we have a live online meeting where you can join us in working to create and nurture the change that we need. I'd like to invite you to check out some of our other videos. Until next time, may all your actions bring you success. Stay focused, stay strong, and reinvest in yourself as well as your community. Together, our efforts can be greater than the sum of the parts. The power is in you.